Some of what we call history never happened, and the parts that did were written by people with reason to lie. This is a special episode, not a part of any series, and I want to be clear about what this episode is and isn't. This isn't conspiracy theory. This isn't an argument that nothing is real. This is an honest look at something that historians, archaeologists, and scientists has documented and corrected for decades. Some of what we were taught as history was fabricated, exaggerated, or deliberately distorted, and evidence for that isn't on the internet. It is in academic journals, museums, and university libraries. Let me show you what I mean. In 1912, a lawyer and a mature archaeologist presented a skull to Geological Society of London. The skull appeared to show a creature halfway between ape and human. Scientists named it, textbooks included it. For 40 years, it was cited as proof of a critical stage of a human evolution. In 1953, scientists tested it with modern technologies. The jaw was from an orangutan. The skull was from a modern human. Some had filed down the teeth and stained them bones to make them look ancient. Piltdown Man, one of the most famous fossils in scientific history, was complete fabrication, not a misinterpretation, a deliberate fraud, and it survived in the textbooks for 4 decades. Because it confirmed what scientists wanted to find. That is the first thing worth understanding. Fabrications survive longest when they confirmed what people already believe. Research doesn't get questioned, but it tells us what we want to hear. This is the same mechanism we covered in episode 7. Motivated reasoning running in science, in institutions, in entire field, not just in individuals. Now let me talk about something closer to everyday history. The history that wasn't fabricated by one person, but shaped by thousands of small decisions about what to include and what to leave out. History is written by the people who won. This isn't a controversial claim. This is an observation every serious historian accepts. The victor controls the achieve. The victor decides what gets preserved and what gets destroyed. The victor names the events and the loser's account, if it exists at all, gets filtered through the victor's framework for centuries, before anyone thinks to question it. A concrete example from most of the 20th century, Christopher Columbus was touted in Western schools as the discoverer of America. The word discover contains a specific assumption that the land didn't count as found until a European arrived to find it. The millions of people already living there didn't appear in that framing, not because historians didn't know they existed, because the dominant narrative was written from one perspective, and that perspective defined what counted as discovery. This isn't fabrication in the Piltdown sense. These are something more subtle and more widespreading. Selective telling. The history is technically accurate in what it says. It falls in what it omits. An omission is often more powerful than invention, because invented facts can be checked. Omitted facts can't be noticed by people who don't know they are missing. Here is another one. For decades, the standard historical account of the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki presented it as a decision that ended the war, necessary, appropriate, the only option. The classified documents that emerged over the following decades showed that several senior military figures at the time believed Japan was already closer to surrender, and that the Soviet Union's entry into Pacific War may have been as significant a factor as bombs. The official narrative was not a lie, but it was incomplete in ways that served a specific political purposes as a specific historical moment, and those incomplete versions became what an entire generation learned as a fact. Now here's the part that connects to what this channel is about. Why do we believe the fabricated or distorted versions, even when corrections are available? The same mechanism we covered in every episode. We were told the history early, as we covered in episode 11. The brain builds models based on early inputs and then filters subsequent information through those models. History taught in childhood becomes foundational corrections that arrive later have to fight against an already constructed framework. The corrections feel threatening because they aren't just correction. They are challenging a picture of the world that has been in a place for decades. The identity we built around the history is also at stake, as we covered in episode 9. If the history of your country or your civilization or your people is part of your identity, then a correction to that history feels like an attack on you, and the brain responds accordingly. Not with curiosity, with defense. And finally, the sheer volume of revision required, updating one fact, is manageable. Discovering that large portion of what you learned were incomplete, politically shaped, or outright false requires a wholesale reconstruction of the framework. This is cognitively expensive, and the brain avoids expensive when cheap is available. Cheap is keeping the old story. So what do we do with this? Not disbelieve everything. That isn't a solution. That is a paralysis. And it's exactly where conspiracy thinking lives. In the specific left, when someone decides that because some history was wrong, all of official accounts are suspect. That leap doesn't follow. Some history was fabricated, most wasn't. The skill isn't blanket scepticism, it is direct scepticism. Ask who wrote this, ask what they had to gain from this version, ask whose account is missing from this history, ask what has been discovered since this was written. Those 4 questions applied to any historical claim produces a much more accurate picture than either believing everything or believing nothing. The goal isn't to distrust history. The goal is to hold it with the same critical attention that the best historians have always applied to it. History isn't a fixed record. It's a living argument that gets revised as a new evidence emerges, and as the questions we asked of it change. The Piltdown skull was exposed. The Columbus narrative was revised. The Hiroshima account was complicated by the classified documents. History corrected itself, slowly, imperfectly, with enormous resistance, but it corrected itself. The question is whether we are reading the corrected version or still carrying the one that has not been updated yet.